Steve Kerr told us pregame they're revving the engines up, trying to play quicker than they've ever played before. Little did we understand how much he meant it. Jazz gets sped by the Golden State Warriors in blowout. We're talking about it next on POSTCAST.
You are Locked On Jazz, your daily podcast on the Utah Jazz. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
David Locke along with Ron Boone. Welcome to POSTCAST, where the Golden State Warriors blew out the Utah Jazz by 41. Only the second time ever in franchise history the Jazz have lost by 40 points at home. Only the fifth time the Jazz have ever lost by 30 or more at home in franchise history. 127-86, the final tonight here in Golden State. Jazz started well, and then the Warriors sped this thing up, got into the Jazz, and the Jazz never had an answer, including some interesting moments. Will Hardy pulling all five starters in a hockey line change less than 3 minutes into the third quarter. And the Jazz just really were overwhelmed by the speed and pressure of the Warriors tonight.
Yeah, exactly. I was sitting there thinking back to the way the game started to unfold. The first quarter, the first few minutes of that first quarter, how good the Jazz were playing. And the looks that they were getting in that first quarter, and quickly how those looks changed. But from that point on, once they made that substitution, very few uncontested looks except for a few there.
Their first substitution was Gary Payton II in for Trace Jackson Davis, which slides Draymond Green to the 5. They then switch everything 1 through 5, and they are just up in you physically.
Every pass that the Jazz made, there was a defender running toward them. And then when you start to put the ball on the court and you're dribbling, you're changing directions, as Jordan Clarkson.
Yep.
It was a double team.
Yeah, or even Jordan just trying to put the ball on the floor on that one against the Gem. Jordan literally had a hard time dribbling.
Exactly. So the defense there, and this is starting to filter around the league to the point where this will be a part of the game. These young players are going to have a lot to learn, and they need to do it quickly.
The other one that just jumped out what the Warriors did to the Jazz last year allowed the most transition of any team in the league. So this might have been about as bad a matchup as you could have. The Jazz coaching staff has not been pleased with how the Jazz are changing ends in transition. That was made clear to us in multiple.
Scott, as a matter of fact, Scott Morris talked about it's urgent. The Jazz defense gets better in transition.
So the Warriors are playing as fast as I have ever remembered them playing. Would you agree with that?
I would agree with that. Yes, I definitely would. They have the personnel to do it. I mean, they got guys coming up against that duplicate what the starters are doing. And then most of them are trying to get physical, like Draymond Green.
Thanks, pal.
And just takes you out of what you're trying to do.
So Keyon George had the spotlight on him. He went 3 of 18 in the opener. He came out. He hit the. Will Hardy told us in the pregame show, I need to move him off ball more and give him more opportunities off ball. That's exactly what they did in the opening few possessions. He hit 2 threes early. He did not finish with a good night, unfortunately. He only made 2 of his next 10 shots and finished 4 of 12. But it does seem as though we're going to have to see a little bit more of Keyon George off ball to get him to be able to show all of his skills.
And now we'll hopefully see him coming on screens and shooting off the dribble, or a catch and shoot situation. We're talking about the offensive end of the floor, and just get better at things out there. What needs to be done out there on the floor, making himself better, but also making his teammates better.
All right, I talked at the end of my podcast today at Locked On Jazz about what I would call the reliability rating. And the reliability rating is that we had Taylor Hendricks had a great game, and Walker Kessler played, got to be the worst center team in the NBA and had a great game. And now the question is whether these guys can become reliable. And it's not going to happen tonight. But, for every good game, is there a bad game? For 2 good games, is there then 1 bad game? For 3 good games, and then 1 bad? That actually Will Hardy eventually one day can pen in what they're getting. Like tonight's a good example, particularly in the case of Taylor Hendricks. And that's a tough matchup, right? And his game may not right now adapt to every single opponent we play. And so this is part of the kind of learning where they are and then learning is what I would call the reliability rating. Like if you put a plus down on Taylor Hendricks last game, you'd put a minus down tonight. Okay, how do you make it a second plus? Or, I don't know what you're feeling on Walker tonight. I might just give him an even. or just a pass. And last night was a double plus or something like that. But what's your thoughts on how these guys get to a reliability rating?
Well, I think we have to start judging that and grading that maybe 10 games into the season. Right now, Hendricks, as you just mentioned, he's over with a lot of times they're trying to make him a better defensive player. They're putting him on star players with more experience. And he's not shooting the basketball well. And as we saw sometimes in preseason, it's just like he was just out there on the floor. He wasn't accomplishing anything. So hopefully, at least on the defensive side, right, he is learning something that he can take to the next game. Then the next game. But right now, he's still lucky.
One of the things I do think we'll get into, we're 2 games in, so who knows? But, but I do think there's a chance that some of our young kids are really being asked to do a lot and are going to shoot really, really badly here. And so we're 15, 20 games this season. One of them shooting 30% from the field and 20% from career. Are we still rolling them out there? Are we willing to still roll them out there for 15, 20 minutes a night? I think we are. But those are going to take some really patient moments for Will Hardy and everyone to do that. And there's going to take some veteran buy-in to that too, because if Jordan Clarkson and John Collins are losing minutes to guys that are having this tough stretch, that's going to be hard for them to swallow.
Yeah, you can see I'm watching Will on the sidelines, and he doesn't show any emotion.
Can we get Ron's mic up higher? That's what I was trying to tell you. Sorry. Go ahead.
He doesn't show any emotion maybe with this movie.
Okay.
And arms folded. It's not like he's probably suffering on the inside, but he's not showing that he's really disappointed with some of the things that are going on. Well, sometimes coaches get upset and they're running down there telling someone to get in the ball. Just basically
I mean, he's always been really fabulous at never showing up his players, never showing his frustration. I don't know if you remember, I think this is right, but his first preseason game ever, I think, was in Toronto or in Edmonton. I think, if I remember correctly. And out of his very first time out, they run a play and they don't get the pass. It's a 5-second violation. And I remember I looked at him immediately to see what his reaction was. None. No reaction at all. He drawn his first NBA play out of a timeout, and they didn't execute it, and they didn't get it in, and there was no reaction. And I was like, oh, that's impressive. Oh, I'm sure. But he's, and there were some moments today where you saw him turn around, look at his coaches, and say, the one I think that might bother the Jazz coaches the most tonight is the 19 offensive rebounds. Because I asked Evan Brads about the defense. He's like, our first shot defense is fine. There were too many, to me, missed shots. There were too many balls tonight where I would say Jazz players were waiting for the ball to come to them, and the Warrior player went and got it.
We saw that did it a couple of times. Jordan Clarkson was one of the players that let it happen. And he throws his hands up in the air and discusses as he does so long. But he's got to get better, dude. We'll see what happens here going forward. It's not a good schedule for them to.
There are not a lot of W's on the score. Dallas and Sacramento on a back-to-back before we had San Antonio. Then we go to Chicago, Milwaukee. Yeah, there are not a lot of Chicago upset Milwaukee today. Stars tonight. I was thinking about doing a new feature the other day where we just give pluses. We gave players who had, like for the reliability meter. Like if you had a reliability meter plus tonight, who would get a plus in the reliability meter tonight? But that could get pretty. I think that might be an interesting way to do it. I would give Drew Eubanks a plus tonight for his 5 minutes. Would you give Patty Mills a plus for the way he tried to conduct things tonight? I would give him a plus. Yeah, there could be a night where we give out 12 pluses. But the idea is you're trying to see the reliability meter of our young players, and if Cody Williams can he get to a point where he has 5 pluses in a row? Can he have 3 pluses in a row? Can Taylor Hendricks have 5 pluses in a row? Better than stars instead. So Lacey, you're keeping track of Lacey's keeping track of pluses. All right, do you have anybody else you would give a plus tonight? I gave Drew Eubanks and Patty Mills pluses tonight. John Collins, 14.7 rebounds, 4 assists, a steal, and a block. Probably it's a box score plus, but I'm not sure if I thought that was one of his better games. Well, you can look really good in the box score and really not have a good impact on the game. Are you giving John Collins a plus for that?
Are we doing the whole team?
No, yeah. Well, on a given night, you can give. All right, so we give 3 pluses tonight. All right, that's it. We're gonna try that. If it's no good, and we'll go to reliability pluses. We're learning, we're developing, we're picking up skills. Hopefully, in Dallas, we'll give out 7 pluses. There could be a night where we don't give out a plus. Tonight would have been close. Have a great night. Have a super weekend. We'll talk to you soon. Lacey said she'll write out the rules for you in the classroom.